why does the Bible not have any more like factual, helpful information for humans rather than, like in my opinion, I feel like anybody can go to a Barnes and Noble and just grab any book and they can have more of a correct understanding about the way that humans work, advice for the future.
Have you read the Bible?
My opinion. I no.
And then
I
how
have
do
not
you
read the
know?
Bible.
How do you know that there's not these great, wonderful teachings or lessons or things that are great for your life in there if you've never read it?
Because it's outdated.
Do you think anything that's like over 1,000 years old we throw out?
In some sense, yes.
Okay, cool, phenomenal. So
sense,
you got to stop using logic because that's Aristotelian and that predates about 1,500 years ago, and we still hold to it today. You said you don't trust something 1,000 years old, yet you still hold to Aristotelian logic. So explain that one to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Yo, what's going on, bro?
Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Good, I'm 31.
What's up, bro?
Okay, I'm gonna go about this a little bit different. I'm a space and science guy, and I just have a few questions. And why don't we just do it that way? Like, I don't even need to talk. I kind of want to hear your thoughts, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Number one, I've been listening for a little bit. I noticed that you said the Lord is a him a lot, and I'm just curious why you refer to him as a him when humans are a very like Earth-specific species.
Because he referred to him as him.
Okay, so that. Like I'm saying, like on other planets, is he still considered a him, or is that like a different? Maybe like if there's a different species.
I don't know. I've never been to another planet.
Okay, all right. No, that's number one. Number two, have you ever been wrong about when speaking about God, and do you have any specific examples?
Do I come across as somebody who gets things wrong? You think I get things wrong?
No, I'm just curious about like a specific.
I'm just bugging you, bro. Of course, I get things wrong all the time.
You do?
100%.
And do you have any like specific examples of that like you can kind of teach the chat about?
So I once gave an analogy that the Trinity is like the three-headed dog, which is partialism. It's a heresy. And I did that analogy all the time. So that was something that was wrong.
Okay. I respect that. No, because one of the big things that I pride myself on my channel and just in life in general is that like being able to admit that like we are wrong a lot and that, we don't always have the full story. So no, that's I appreciate that. Number three, what do you like? Does the discovery of DNA samples and RNA building blocks on the asteroid Bennu change your opinion at all about our story? Because now they're saying panspermia has more credibility than ever before, which means that life comes from asteroids or space rocks bouncing around solar systems and obviously bouncing off.
Hold on. How do they come to that conclusion, right? How do they conclude that it came from the asteroid?
Oh, so basically, long story, obviously multiple different scientific papers shortened 20 seconds. That was a theory. It's one of the theories about how life started on Earth is that basically rocks carrying these like building blocks of life are smashing into either moons or planets. And then over time, when the conditions are right and, everything happens the perfect way and the perfect conditions, perfect temperatures, that's when life thrives. And then obviously over, the course of billions of years, you get us, me and you on
right. But you're not answering my question. How do they know that those RNA and DNA comes from the asteroid? Like the asteroid produces it?
Oh, that's a great question. So that was what I was getting at right after that. So we sent a spacecraft called Osiris Rex, like 1 million miles away. We literally like grabbed a sample off this asteroid, and it came back in 2023 when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce started dating. I only know that because that was one of the jokes in my video. But over 2 years of scientific study, we confirmed that they have building blocks. So it's not like
right. You're misunderstanding my question. I'm not denying that the building blocks are there. I'm asking, how do they know it was produced by the rock?
Oh, so no, it wasn't produced by the rock. This rock is actually a kind of a piece of another either planet or moon from the past solar system. So the reason why we study rocks
so why,
like that is just...
Why would this put a hiccup in my worldview?
I think it would put a hiccup because, humans are a very Earth-specific species. And if you find out that, life can be all like... So basically this news of DNA and RNA building blocks on an asteroid in our solar system, which is like a time capsule from billions of years ago in our solar system, it would mean that life technically is probably not as rare as we thought it would be on Earth. So like a lot of what you go off of is the Bible, or do you go off of like, is that correct? Or
Right.
no,
So
I'm not trying to
but
put words in your
what
mouth.
is the issue with life being out in the universe?
Wouldn't other planets and moons need their own Bible to go off of? Because
Well,
like, I
that's
doubt they have paper.
assuming a lot of things, right? Do fish need a Bible?
I think if fish were gonna,
Should I
consider
start
that
proselytizing to fish?
that's a good point. In my opinion, I would think that, if a fish was going to say, "Hey, I know that there is a master of the universe," they might need something to kind of give them some evidence for
Right.
that.
So you're making the assertion that there's many members of rational kinds out in the universe.
Of course,
Yeah.
based off of what we know. I mean, we
No,
exist, right?
no. You're just saying we found building blocks for life. Sure. That doesn't mean that they're going to grow into rational kinds.
I see. Does that get you excited about the possibilities for life in the universe, or
No.
does that get you
I
upset?
don't even care if there is or isn't.
How-
Doesn't faze me at all.
But why? As a human on, one floating rock in a universe of billions and trillions of different, things out there, why would you not feel that you're part of that?
I just don't care if there are or not aliens. And a big reason is because of the Drake equation. Even if there was, we're never going to see them.
But even if there were, and we're not the only species in the universe, wouldn't that mean something extra special to you? Like either way, wouldn't you care that, you in a very literal sense are a piece of the universe experiencing itself through the magnetic spectrum?
That's just pantheism, and I don't hold to pantheism.
Can you just explain on that a little bit more? I'll be honest, I don't really.
Pantheism is that the universe is God, and we're all part of the universe. We're all connected in that sort of way. That's like kind of what you're hinting at.
I see what you're saying. All right, so are you and me God in your opinion? Like we are just God experiencing, life.
No God aspects to me at all.
Okay. And now with future missions to like moons like Europa around Jupiter, and let's say we find not only microbial life, but let's say we find, some type of fish. Does that change your outlook on, on our story?
Nope. I also don't think we're going to find life because of the Drake equation.
Even with the recent discovery of DNA building blocks on Bennu?
So finding building blocks is not finding life, right? And it's a common consensus. It's common consensus that there's like the main building blocks of life are in the universe. So like that's where I'd expect to see it, is in the universe.
Okay. Is there anything about like space exploration that does get you excited?
No.
So your main focus is life on Earth.
Well, yeah, that's where, that's where my people are.
No, I understand, but have you ever like considered to just, think like larger than, what we have here? I mean, like what do you think is out there, right? Like,
why is it so important to you that I care about whether or not there's aliens or not? It's not something that I think about. It's not something that's even like remotely on my mind. It's just, I think just as much about aliens as I think about the new microbe that's found near a volcano at the bottom of the ocean.
True, but space exploration is very important to, all of our lives, whether, you want to like kind of like indulge yourself in that type of science or not.
Why?
It does.
Why do I need to focus on it? Why is it so important?
It plays a large role in your life, whether you know it or not. I mean, everything. A lot of the things that keep us alive are from space exploration, right? Like you can, the ways that we scan our bodies, the GPS that we use on our cell phones, the like internet, all these things come from further exploring space and science. But I'm more so saying is that
I think the satellites and having things around the planet, I think these are fruitful, sure, yeah, but it's not exactly necessary. We as a society strived and thrived before that.
Of course we did, but we're never going to advance further unless we kind of dip our toes into that next level of like, right. Understanding.
It's just, listen, man, I'm not downplaying. I'm not saying people shouldn't be excited about it. Like if it's a passion of yours, go for it. Like I'm not saying it's a down negative thing. I'm just saying for me, I don't care. That's just me. That's my personal perspective.
I know you don't care, and I think that's what might kind of bring me back to my original frustration is that, like, you come on live, you're preaching all of these, things that you believe are great, but don't you think you could, spend your time better on this planet preaching things that might advance our species rather than
What's going to advance your species more than connecting with the creator of the universe?
But there's no scientific evidence for that.
That's irrelevant to the question I asked. What would advance our species more than connecting with the creator of the universe?
What would connect our species more? Okay, so if you just ask that question flat, yes, I agree.
So if I'm right,
we can find middle ground.
Yeah,
we can find middle ground here. I agree.
Cool. So if I'm right, is there a better way to spend my time?
No, but if you're wrong, I think that's a really bad way to spend your time.
If I'm wrong, it doesn't matter because I'll die and it'll be nothingness.
But is that fair to the millions of people that you connect with?
They're going to die and there'll be nothingness too.
So you don't care about the message you're spreading?
What message? They're going to receive a message. They're going to know about it for 80 years and then they're going to die and it's going to be nothingness.
Okay, well then we have different opinions on.
But I'm just asking, what is the relevance or importance of it?
The relevance of importance would be if you preach, more of a scientific approach where
I'm not anti-science.
You provide evidence. We might be able to advance our species in a way like never before. And to me, it's almost like
hold on. You just made an accusation at me without even making an accusation. You're saying I'm anti-science and I don't provide evidence. I'm a big advocate for evidence and I'm a big advocate for science.
So why do you continue to talk about somebody or a mythical figure that has no
because
evidence
it does
or
have
factual
evidence.
Just none that we can test in a lab.
Right. Lots of things that you hold to be true you cannot test in a lab.
But those are not scientific facts that advance species.
Really, the laws of logic is not a fact that advances our species.
And I also don't think it's fair that you say, you're making accusations. You were saying to somebody before that, you're like, send me all the money you want, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, you're making money about,
what?
Technically a mythical figure that happened.
You made an accusation that I didn't care about science or evidence. Did you not?
True.
Okay. So then what is the issue with saying that you're making an accusation when you're making an accusation?
Do you think that prior to the year 0, right? Or 5, whenever, you claim Jesus resurrected from the dead, like what happened prior to that with your beliefs?
What do you mean?
So the Egyptian pyramids, Jesus was not around, correct?
No.
So then what was going on during then? How are these, humans for the past 245,000 years able to,
there's a great book that explains all that. It's called the Bible.
Okay. And what does that say?
It says that Yahweh was still there. He's still interacting with his people, still doing things. Yahweh is the God of the universe.
Interesting. And one final question, then I'll let you guys go. So why does the Bible not have any more factual, helpful information for humans rather than, in my opinion, I feel like anybody can go to a Barnes and Noble and just grab any book and they can have more of a correct understanding about the way that humans work, advice for the future, anything.
Have you read the Bible?
Opinion. I know.
Then how do you know?
The Bible because it's outdated.
But how do you know? How do you know that there's not these great, wonderful teachings or lessons or things that are great for your life in there if you've never read it?
Because it's outdated.
Outdated to what standard? Right? Do you think? Hold on. Do you think anything that's over 1,000 years old we throw out?
In some sense, yes.
Okay, cool, phenomenal. So you got to stop using logic because that's Aristotelian and that predates about 1,500 years ago, and we still hold to it today. So we still hold to Aristotelian logic. You still use it on a day-to-day basis. You should throw it out. It's outdated.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making
is the point you're making. You said you can't open it and read it. You can't trust it because it's outdated. Even though you've never read it, you could say there's no good information in there because it's old, because it's over 1,000 years old. Yet you still hold to Aristotelian logic.
More than that, right? Technically, it's 2,000 years old. Right?
No. You're saying you can't hold to something that's over 1,000 years old. The Bible's 2,000 years old. So is it over 1,000 years old?
What was written when?
So is 2000 a bigger number than 1000?
Yes.
Okay, so if it's 1,000 years old, 1,000 years is your standard, then the Bible is 2,000 years old. Is it past your standard?
Well, yes. Why
Right,
would you
phenomenal.
trust something?
So then it doesn't matter if you're saying it's 2,000. You said you don't trust something 1,000 years old, yet you still hold to Aristotelian logic. So explain that one to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me, without evidence that you can test. That is not like something like a belief is something that you want to believe.
Do
right?
you believe
that
you
wants
exist?
I don't think we have. Yeah, I mean, yes, I believe.
Yeah,
that,
you
but we
believe you
don't have,
exist. Do you have a testable way of proving that?
Yeah, I mean, I could drink this water bottle next to me.
How do you know that proves you exist? How do you know it's not a simulation? How do you know it's not any of those things?
I think that's the beauty of science, is that you have to admit that you don't know.
What is the testable method to prove you exist?
Over time, you do enough research and you have enough of the same
What is the
outcomes.
testable method? What is the empirical evidence that you can present that proves to all of us that you exist?
Over time, like I said, over time, enough people test
So you don't actually have the methodology on that one uses to prove that they exist?
The scientific method, right? And like you do enough experiments.
What experiment did they do to prove that the concept of yourself, exists?
Experience.
What is the testable, repeatable method?
It's the scientific method.
Which method do they apply to prove the concept of self?
So what do you mean by that? Explain a little bit further, because I think I'm getting confused.
Very obviously. So I think, therefore I am, the concept of self, right? That I exist, right? What is the scientific method to prove that?
That you are you and I am me.
No, that's the law of identity. This is the concept of self. You exist. I exist. I'm having a conscious experience. I'm aware of my surroundings. You're aware of your surroundings. I think, you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you show me the scientific method that proves that?
That proves that. Okay. No, I don't think this is really, because now we're getting into like, you are correct in one sense that I don't think that either of us could prove that, right? I mean,
is it true?
To what we believe, if we want to live this existence.
Cool, phenomenal. So, okay, the scientific method. You claim that is the only way to come to truth. Can you give me the scientific method that proves the scientific method?
That's over thousands of years. You critique what you see in the
No, that is the scientific method. What is the scientific method that proves the scientific method?
That's something that we created.
What is the scientific method? What is the testable, repeatable experiment? Hold on. What is the testable, repeatable experiment that proves testable, repeatable experiments?
I think thousands of people coming up with the same.
Can you give me the actual experiment, not an idea of what that experiment is?
No.
Right. So you believe things that are true, that are not testable and repeatable.
Do I believe things?
No, you do, because you just said you did.
No, yeah, that's I was just repeating you. No, I agree with you. I believe reality as things that are testable and repeatable. Absolutely.
No, that's not what you said. All right, God bless, man.
Why do you kick people off that disagree with
I'm
you?
not kicking you off because you disagree with me. I'm kicking you off because it's going nowhere. It's because you can't even comprehend the sounds that are coming out of my face.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. If you want to watch more, you can click one of these and you can keep watching.